You've spoken about the headwinds. Is there a chance, though, that things are better than what you have previously thought? You look to China, for example, coming out of COVID zero. There's a lot of people and analysts who think actually China's going to bounce back in a big way over coming months. I know that Don Farrell, the Trade Minister, has got talks with his counterpart in the next few weeks to try and get those tariffs removed on $20 billion worth of our exports. Could that be an upside for us if China bounces back much more quickly?
Oh, China will be a big part of the story, obviously, when it comes to our expectations for the global economy this year. I think most economists and analysts still expect it will be a difficult year in the global economy. Combination of a war in Europe, difficulties around COVID and supply chains. Obviously, higher interest rates are biting around the world and here as well. So for all of those reasons, people are still expecting it to be a difficult year in the global economy. But how China plays out will obviously have big consequences for us. If you think about people's expectations for the global economy, a lot of people are now expecting a downturn but not a disaster. We'll see if that plays out in that way. But China, because of their expectations for China, that's what's making people recalibrate some of their expectations for the global economy. I think there is a chance after an incredibly flat December quarter in China, after all of the pressure that's being put on supply chains by that big COVID wave that they're experiencing right now, I think there is a chance that the Chinese economy recovers relatively strongly and relatively quickly. That is the expectation of a lot of analysts and economists from around the world. We want that to be the case because that would be very good for us. But our policy is not to cross our fingers and hope for the best. Our policy is to make our budget more responsible, our economy more resilient. A big part of both of those things is making sure that we can provide that responsible cost of living relief to get people through what is likely to be a difficult year ahead.
The latest inflation figures due out this Wednesday. A lot of Australians will be hoping that we've seen the peak in that rate rise cycle. When you look at the recent jobs numbers, thousands of jobs lost, do you think that we could well have passed the peak?
Oh, well, certainly the expectation of the Treasury and the Reserve Bank was that the peak would happen in the December quarter, and we'll get those December quarter figures in the week ahead. And obviously they will be closely watched. We've still got a big inflation challenge in our economy. Even as we get to the other side of the peak, inflation will be higher than we'd like for longer than we'd like. That is just the reality. People are doing it, I think, especially tough. Energy prices, as we were talking about before, are a big part of the story. But there's been some other welcome developments when it comes for our expectations for inflation. You know, shipping costs came off a bit quicker than we anticipated. Housing costs similarly, and some of the other indications as well. So we'll see what it says on Wednesday. We obviously want to get to the other side of this peak as soon as possible. We want inflation to moderate as soon as it can. A big part of our focus in our budget and in our economic plan is how we provide responsible cost of living relief and grow the economy without adding to these inflationary pressures, which are putting such pressure on households and families and businesses around the country.
A couple of ones before you go. We've got Peter Dutton joining Andrew shortly. Madeline King, your colleague, calling on the resources sector to support the voice. Mr Dutton says the government needs to provide more detail. Have you dropped the ball on this as you try and mount the case for the voice to Parliament?
Oh, of course not. You know, this is Australia's big chance to move forward together in a spirit of unity and respect, and to give First Nations people a say in the issues that affect their communities. And I think the business community, certainly the resources sector, has an opportunity, and many leaders in those parts of our economy have expressed a very positive view about the voice, and that's a good thing. This should be a unifying moment. It should be something which is decided by the people, not the politicians. I think some of the language from Peter Dutton has been disappointing. I think people understand that Peter Dutton's not actually looking for more detail here. He's looking for more division. He's reached for the Tony Abbott and Scott Morrison playbook, which says that the best chances for him to be successful politically is if the nation fails to grab this a terrific opportunity to do the right thing and to move forward together in that spirit of unity and respect.
Almost out of time, just quickly. The new New Zealand Prime Minister to be confirmed this morning, Chris Hipkins. Your age, she's 44 years of age. Does it change anything in the bilateral relationship?
Oh no, we look forward to working together closely with Chris Hipkins and with his cabinet when he names one. This is a huge year for Australia-New Zealand relations. It's the 40th anniversary of closer economic relations, that agreement that governs the approach to this relationship. Chris Hipkins is someone of immense experience and depth and intelligence. He's a very worthy successor to Prime Minister Ardern, and we look forward to working with him really closely. We've got a big Trans-Tasman agenda in a really important year. I know the Prime Minister is looking forward to working with Chris Hipkins, and we're all looking forward to working with his cabinet.